Good morning, everyone. This is Faruk, and welcome to Revpanda Live. Today, we are talking about some exciting topics: blockchain use in iGaming and crypto casinos. I'm joined by Jean-Michel Azzopardi. He's an expert in blockchain, fintech, and cybersecurity fields. He's the chapter leader for BitAngels in Malta. I'm sure you're very used to seeing him at some iGaming events on the stage as well. Jean-Michel, welcome to the show. For those who are just meeting you for the first time, can you please tell us about yourself?
Faruk, thank you so much for having me. Thank you everyone at Revpanda for making this happen. A little bit about me for those who have never met me, I guess. I've been in crypto for a long time, ever since I had long hair, actually. And I guess it's sort of taken its toll. But I'm not, let's say, a traditional crypto guy. I'm not a finance guy. I'm a techie. I'm ex-IBM. I'm used to sort of working on large systems and in situations where process and data complexity becomes a really big factor, as well as spent quite a bit of time in the cybersecurity space. Launched my own blockchain startup. It's been a little bit of a ride, But I'm always intrigued by the fact that I'm able to have these conversations now out in the open and in the wild. What do I mean? It's that in the sort of heydays of Bitcoin, which is, I think now the fact that this is a new all-time high is couldn't be a better time to mention it, right? Is that it was just an idea for nerds to speak about on bitcointalk.org, right? That's what it basically was. So the fact that I'm able to have this conversation with yourself and with the LinkedIn public at large, and they actually understand the base concepts of what it is I've been nerding about over the past more than a decade now, still blows my mind, Faruk.
It is incredible how much the industry came nowadays. So, really, I appreciate that with all the supporters in blockchain and crypto space. I still have some hair left, so I'm not that long in crypto like yourself. But I want to ask you, are you in it for the technology?
100%. That was always my let's say attraction toward Bitcoin. I mean, like ever since reading the white paper, it just kind of flipped a little switch in my head, right? And I saw it just around the same time, just after the financial crisis, right? For me, it was in 2011. So all of the points which were being mentioned in the white paper were really, really salient, right? So it was always, for me, this idea that man is inherently flawed, because no matter the man, greed has a price. And being able to replace that flaw with technology what sounded like something utopian back then. And now, with Trump just coming into power and him announcing that the US is going to make Bitcoin part of the Federal Reserve, I'm not sure if I'm living in a beautiful dream. But I that's the way I try to keep it. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the US elections right now, the president, Senate, and House, they're all pro crypto, and that is something probably the community has been dreaming about. So, yeah. Um, by the way, for our viewers, Jean-Michel had a motorbike accident a couple of days ago, and it's something really serious. I saw the pictures. Jean-Michel, thanks for joining us, even in this state. I believe that the recent pump and the bull market gives you more strength right now to join us. How do you feel, by the way?
It helps. I mean, that and the company of good people, right? That's always good. No, for the most part, the concussion is done. There's just a a little few lingering elements of it, but for the most part, I'm well. Thank you for asking and for having me. So let's jump in, man.
Absolutely. So, for everyone, this session will be packed with insights. So, feel free to ask your questions in the chat. We want this to be interactive, especially in such an exciting topic today. So, with that, Jean-Michel, let's jump into the questions. We all know that blockchain technology has been making some waves across various industries. So you mentioned about fintech earlier. Definitely, that's one of the bigger, impacts that we can see. But iGaming is no exception. Can you shed some light on the specific ways blockchain is being implemented in iGaming and the benefits it brings to both players and to the operators?
Okay, so the there are many different approaches I think the market is taking just because it's still very early and the market's very, very fragmented, right? So from what I understand, there's around 350 crypto casinos in the market worldwide, give or take. Of course, there's no official number because there's no regulation and there's no real way to sort of pinpoint that. And what I mean is those are, let's say, the crypto native casinos, but the sort of the way that crypto is being adopted as a whole, it varies entirely just because the ideal path hasn't yet been identified. So what do I mean? Like if you want to manufacture a car, there's a best process, there's a best practice way to do it, right? And there's a template for it, and you just go with that template and you're sorted because the process has been around for ages. With crypto casinos, they're entirely nascent, right? So everyone's trying a whole bunch of different things, and I think the way to look at it is like in terms of levels. So there's at the very base layer is traditional casinos taking crypto as a payment method, right? Meaning there's no change to their operations, there's no change to really the way they run their business. It's just like, this is what we sell. Now here is your option to take to pay with USDT, ETH, BTC, whatever it is. And then there's the second layer where on top of that base layer, where all the other old coins across the ecosystem form part of those available payment methods, right? So we talk about Solana, we talk about Avalanche, Polygon, etc., right? So they sort of expand the scope a little bit, but those are also like I almost wouldn't really call those crypto casinos, right? To me, they're just traditional casinos that just take crypto. But then there are some more, I guess, interesting ways that crypto is blockchain specifically is being used, right? Because that is, I think, the more interesting factor. So I've seen examples where casinos do not natively accept fiat. And this is where I think the real paradigm starts to shift, right? From a user experience, from a user perspective, it doesn't change a whole lot because typically a user is still able to, buy some crypto with their a credit card or a Visa or whatever it is, and they're able to sort of go through the user journey just paying with ETH, right? But from a user experience, they still have that element of freedom. What's important is what happens once the crypto is purchased and how does this all get used, right? So I've seen the thing about casinos is traditional casinos have all the regulation in the world, right? Each and every country practically now has decided that it knows the best way in which a casino should be regulated, and they've given their thoughts and put it out into some framework which every founder has to basically live by. But with crypto casinos, it's entirely new. So there is weirdly, in an industry which is supposed to natively bring trust, there is a lack of trust, right? And that's because of the let's say non-decentralized side. It always is. So with traditional casinos, they grab a license and they say, okay, listen, this is my license, my certificate, and your average user says, okay, these guys have a license in the UK. I'm in the UK. Let's go and play. But there's no such thing with crypto. There's no licensing regime anywhere in the world with crypto. So with crypto casinos, specifically crypto casinos, so everyone's forging their own path and trying to figure out what the best way is to do it, and how can they use these elements to build trust across their ecosystem, right? So I've seen companies provide proof of reserves for their jackpots. So if I'm a player and I go onto a site, I can know for sure that, or know for sure, quote unquote, that this company has access to a certain amount of funds to be able to pay me out if I win a jackpot, which is one of the concerns if you're, let's say, a VIP player, you're betting big money, if it's some casino you've never worked with before, this is going to be something that's going to be on your mind, right? So that is one way I've seen it being used. Another way, which I like arguably more, is the use of royalty rewards. So fraud, obviously, in the casino industry is a big thing, just like everything and just like everywhere else, right? The thing is, when there's more money, fraud costs more money. So if there are ways to, let's say, incentivize users to go through typical processes that they're used to, like KYC and AML and all that sort of stuff, which normal casino players have to go through anyway, right? Yeah. But if we can then sort of tie those rewards, those sign-up rewards, back to the user cryptographically, that means, and we know that they're KYC'd, that means that casino can give that person a sign-up bonus that they just couldn't throw out in the wild, otherwise it would be abused, right? So these are a few different ways of how they're being used. There's also decentralized sports books. There's RNG validators, right? So like people are proving that the RNG methods that they're using, since they're unlicensed, they're sort of posting them on chain to sort of prove to show the code so they can be freely audited, which all sounds good. It all sounds great. The problem is that there are so many ways for these things to be abused that which is unfair, that unless you have some kind of cybersecurity hat, it's going to be a little bit difficult for the average user to be able to differentiate. What do I mean? Think about the area of the era of the ICO boom. Okay, this ICO, everything in theory made a lot of sense, right? And then rug pulls. Okay, same thing with the NFT side. Okay, everything makes sense. You own this token. You have fractional ownership to whatever. It can't be transferred. It's unique. But then rug pulls.
Yeah.
So there will always be rug pulls, and that it's sort of like a rite of passage. You understand? Because once the rug pulls have been survived, then the service offering is matured to a point where it can begin to widen adoption. Like now we're seeing NFTs, for example, in identity. We're seeing it in assets. We're seeing it in mostly in the real world asset side of the business. But we'll definitely see the same thing with crypto casinos.
Well, here also there's a part with the human greed, and it doesn't matter it is an individual or it's a whole big institution. I mean, I've seen rug pull kind of actions by central banks. I've seen currency so-called, like we can maybe say it like rug pulls. Look at the Japan, the central bank of Japan. They just say that they want to change the interest rates, like let's say 25 basis point, and then what happened on August 5th, if I'm not wrong? So like the whole market collapsed, including stock market. So they can also do those things, but when, let's say, those centralized bodies, they do this thing, it is not a rug pull, it is a market, let's say, correction or something like this. But when it happens, let's say in Bitcoin, because of some, let's say, geopolitical issues rising somewhere in Europe or in Middle East and so on. So that kind of things happen. It's going to be taken differently.
That,
Another thing is, in the stock market, they have this, they cut circuit, yeah, like when it is more than a certain amount of falls. So they also apply this kind of things. So they have got that kind of applications over here. But yeah, it is in the human nature, I must say, Jean-Michel.
for sure, and that's the sort of sad thing about it, right? And it's the obscurity of the technology that allows for these things to happen, right? Because like trying to explain blockchain to someone is very similar to having a conversation with them about quantum mechanics. You'll find a handful of people that would love to have the conversation, but the majority just switch off because they're like, whatever,
Yeah.
not important, I don't care. And I completely understand that. I'm just one of the few nerds who loves these things, right?
Absolutely. So blockchain technology brings trust in iGaming, so that both operators and players, they can enjoy it, and then operators, they can go global because the payments are made easy. Plus, you said a really important point here, like they also can create a community. So there's going to be a kind of a community approach. Whenever there are like crypto casinos, they can actually adopt the casino in a different way, like the other traditional casinos. So they can stake their, let's say, coins that is representing that casino as well. So that might be an option, and payments are not a problem at all. So what are other key advantages of using cryptocurrencies for online gaming? I know payments is one of them, but are there anything else?
Yes. So, but let's stick with the payments part for a second.
Hmm.
So, the fact that there is no chargebacks on crypto is already a massive win, right? It's very, very basic, but in the casino industry, it's a little more sort of impactful for the simple reason that there's more money flowing around with more possibility of abuse. Um, but there, let's see. Let's move past cryptocurrency maybe and focus on the advantages of blockchain in the
Sounds
industry,
good.
right? Because crypto it is purely the payment element of blockchain, right? There are the elements that blockchain brings, I think, to the industry are far more interesting. Specifically, what and I think the casino sort of junkies out there would be able to appreciate this explanation a little better. But look at Bank ID, okay, and what effect Bank ID had on the Scandinavian market. Okay, it killed almost all user friction to the market in terms of user experience. Okay, the only downside being perhaps that it was sort of like owned by a centralized body that's maybe not that maybe has its own interests, right? Which to be fair, they all will. But the concept of what it enabled was beautiful. It allowed the user to be able to log into a website using their bank ID and pay using their bank ID from what I gathered, right? That was basically the implementation. So I see the same thing will happen with different wallets. Like you mentioned earlier, you mentioned the community aspect, Faruk. So communities will begin to form in different wallets. And those different wallets will integrate user cards to start with, credit cards, Visas and MasterCards, and bank accounts going forward. But they will also integrate your identity as a player, which means that you, as a user, you would be able to log into a casino using your wallet, and you would be able to pay using your wallet without ever sharing your first name, last name, um, age, any of that stuff, unless the casino required you to. And even then, there are many different ways of handling that process. But in terms of a sort of AML and KYC perspective, but the point is, the ultimate point is, because these all of these things, you know, let's call them, let's put everything under compliance as a sort of overarching hat,
Yeah.
right? Compliance is inherently is a business inhibitor. Inherently, and I say this as a cybersecurity guy and as kind of a technical compliance guy, right? Because but it's inherently a business inhibitor. But when compliance really comes into itself is when it becomes a business enabler. So if not if once crypto wallets and crypto casinos permeate enough that there's enough users on different wallets out there that a crypto casino is able to make a deal with a wallet provider, and the wallet provider says, hey, listen, I've got 400,000 users in my community, 2,000 VIPs, let's go, let's make a deal. Then we have a situation where not only will the user be able to have the best possible experience with massively reduced risk, but it opens up the ecosystem for the affiliates to start to benefit as well, right? Because all of a sudden the affiliates can now take an affiliate link that's paid out by crypto and managed by a smart contract, and they don't have to, spend half their financial month in calculating who owes them what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is the utopian dream that we'll sort of build into.
It kind of eliminates also all the tracking softwares and all these other things that can be somehow manipulated. But when it is on blockchain, it is on the block. It is open and everyone can see it over there. So that's definitely a way to go through that. Here, like in crypto casinos, when we talk about it, Jean-Michel, there's a big confusion. So there are traditional casinos that are accepting payments through cryptocurrencies, and also there are crypto casinos. So can you please tell us the difference between those two?
Sure. So the former would be a, like you said, right? Either like a traditional sports book or a traditional casino. But let's call them like a traditional operator. Okay, a traditional operator that is able to run its business entirely well using fiat, but then decides to slap on crypto as a payment method, right? Then there's a crypto casino, and a crypto casino is able to run its business entirely using crypto and is able to slap on fiat as a payment method. That is the fundamental difference. Now, the way the latter works, like I said before, there is no specific blueprint, and the real key to understanding this is that decentralization, the idea of decentralization, isn't binary; it's varied, right? So there's a slider. Like, think about it as like a scale of 1 to 100. Okay, and the reason is simple. Like take Bitcoin for example. both Bitcoin and Ethereum are two decentralized systems. But if you wanted to attack Ethereum tomorrow, you could put a gun to Vitalik's head. You can do no such thing with Bitcoin. Both are decentralized. But like I said, there are varying degrees of decentralization. In the same way, there are varying degrees of decentralization in approaches to how you create a crypto casino. So let's talk about the company structure, for example. Are we incorporating a traditional company in Europe or Curacao or wherever it is? Or are we incorporating a DAO? Like, for example, you set up a Wyoming LLC that's owned by a wallet address, right? Then, and now if whoops, if that's the case, let's say we do decide to set up this Wyoming LLC, who has access to this wallet? Who has access to the private key of this wallet? Is it one guy, or is it the board, or is it the whole team? What are the powers and the technical capabilities of the owners of that wallet? Are they able to mint new tokens? Is there a token specifically for that casino, or are you using open tokens like Bitcoin and Ethereum? Are you if you're running, for example, if you're doing horse racing betting? Okay, let me give you a really simple example. Okay, let's say we're talking about horse racing betting. If you can run it in two ways. If you're a crypto casino, you can either have your own information source and have a smart contract run the game, and have the smart contract point to an oracle which you control, and this oracle just reads from one endpoint which you control. Okay, or you can have that same oracle point to 50 different information sources and automatically figure out the best one. The possibilities for rug pull there change drastically. The possibilities for fixing games change drastically. But explaining these concepts to the people at large, it becomes very complicated. And this is why I tell you, we will see rug pulls, because some will do the former and some will do the latter. And as a result, some people are going to lose their money. So crypto casinos are just, at the moment, they are very risky. I'm sure there are some fantastic ones out there. I'm not going to share any of them because none of them are paying me, and I haven't done my DD on them, to be fair. So that's why they pay me. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, definitely it's going to be there, but I believe this kind of, let's say, road accidents in the market, it is just helping the market to become healthier. Look at, I mean, my knowledge is a bit limited to cryptocurrency, so of course you can tell us more over there, Jean-Michel. But look at FTX.
What happened? You have your own perspective, right? So
yeah. So look at FTX. What happened at that time, and then later on, Binance, some other regulations and so on. Now we are looking at an asset that is traded in Wall Street. We are talking about an asset that governments are investing. So that is Bitcoin. And well, I guess for crypto casinos also, maybe on the roadmap, we have that kind of, let's say, healthy market indicators coming up in the future.
For sure, the exact same thing will happen here, like it did in the crypto industry. And you said it well. Like it's very healthy, right? So what will happen is there will be a portion of players, the majority of people, at least this is what happened in the crypto industry. If it directly mirrors what happens in the gambling industry, I'm not entirely sure in terms of figures, but in terms of pattern, I guarantee you it would be the same. So right. you will have the minority of players who are, by players I mean operators, the minority of operators who will do things with the right intention, and they will survive, and they will dominate the market eventually. You will have or rather not dominate, they will have good, let's say great market share eventually. You will have the majority of players who will just rug pull, for sure. That's definitely how it will be. And then you will have the players that slide just in between, like the Binances of this world, that slide just in between, and those are the guys who will dominate. Because if we look at Binance, nobody makes $1 billion in revenue in their first year. Nobody, but Binance did.
Right.
So I'll just leave that there. But at the end of the day, Binance is the household name that people think about when they think about exchanges, right? So yes, there will be FTXs along the way, and there will be different examples of how best to sort of do things along the way. But I think that's how we'll learn. I think it's a good thing.
Definitely. I also remember the Luna case as well, so it also had a big impact in the market. Jean-Michel, you explained us the differences between traditional casinos and crypto casinos from the structure and governance point of view. But in our industry, as you know, it is very important to set the user experience, security, and the compliance. So, are there any specific areas where crypto casinos have a significant advantage over the traditional casinos?
100%, 100%. So if they choose to utilize it, which is it has some very particular game theory. So the nice thing about the internet is that if you give the internet a challenge, it's going to rise to the task. There is going to be someone, right? There always will. So like one great example I can think of was I don't know, there was some competition, I think, for the UK government to name some boat, and they made it like a public poll, and they ended up like naming this massive boat like HMS Boaty McBoatface, right, or something like that.
I remember they also did the Brexit, like a poll and asking.
Yeah, so the internet just finds a way to surprise. You understand? So, and if there's something that you don't want on the internet, if there's something you try and take down from the internet, it's going to find a way to bite you eventually, right? So now the thing about crypto casinos is that most owners would like to maintain as much anonymity as possible, both in terms of their own personal identity as well as the operations of the business, which is kind of hilarious, to be honest, because like if you wanted to maintain anonymity on a system that is immutable, transparent, and open, that seems counterproductive in my head, right? Like people don't realize that the shit they do now, they're going to pay for in like 8 to 10 years when people figure out how to make sense of the data, because it's there forever. It's not going anywhere,
Right.
But on the flip side, for the honest operators out there, they could very easily say, hey, listen, here's a link to our smart contracts that run the game. Here's a link to our RNG. Here's a link to our proof of reserves. So just by giving that information out, they're showing the people that even if the average person can't understand code, which they obviously can't, if there was something wrong, somebody would have made an article about it, because some angry dev out there will have eventually lost money. They would have looked at the code. They would have seen this thing is a scam, and they would know. So as an average user, if you just type that name in Google and don't find any bad information, sort of give you a bit of peace of mind. That's I think one of the unfair advantages. The other advantage is, like I said, they can operators can choose to give out sign up bonuses within walled gardens, within walled KYC gardens, because obviously one user can create as many wallets as they want, right? But when you limit wallet creation and you tie it to KYC levels, then it's one user, one wallet, right? So then they can, and if they know I'm a human, then they can give me a sign up bonus that is amazing, because they know I can't abuse it because I only have one shot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's definitely, there are obviously advantages over there, but I'm sure also there are some challenges as well. So what do you think those challenges for crypto casinos, and for those who are in the crypto casino business or they would like to enter, what do you recommend for them to address these challenges?
I think the biggest challenge is finding the right person to guide them, funnily enough. And I say this because most crypto casino owners I've met are come from the traditional gambling industry. So they're experts in their field and they understand it really, really well, right? But there are some nuances with crypto casinos that are just different, even in terms of player base, right? Like the way you market to a crypto native individual versus the way you market to a traditional gambler are different, right? Even the way the sign up bonuses work, there are specific nuances, and the major problem is that differentiating between scammers and people who really know what they're saying is really, really difficult, because blockchain is a really complex, boring subject for most people. It's really, really complex. So most people just hear the first 5 words and they go, okay, this guy must be an expert. I'll trust him and give him my money. And then they realize, eventually things sort of don't work out. So I would say, more than anything, I would say doing due diligence doing proper due diligence on the core team members, I think, and core contributors, as well as third-party suppliers, because that's also fundamental, right? Like, imagine you're running some kind of let's call it the code review. Okay, if you're giving out your source code to someone, that's going to stick a backdoor in there, and you're never going to be wiser, then your casino will end up being a rug pull, but it won't be your fault, but it'll be your name that gets tarnished.
Right,
Me?
right. So far what I see is those people who don't really have the understanding of blockchain technology don't really go to crypto casinos direction that much. I mean, there's a significant demographics that is particularly interested in crypto casinos, and these are like mostly those young people who are in line with the technology, following all the advancements recently. And we can see this with the increase of the streamers and influencers and their collaborations with crypto casinos in the last few years. So that is another thing that we can say. But I know that many people search on Google, like, what is blockchain? Or asking ChatGPT, tell me what is blockchain, like you speak with a 3-year-old. So definitely that is a challenging subject, as you say.
Absolutely.
I wonder about your opinion on the specific trends or innovations that you believe that it is going to impact iGaming industry in the next couple of years in terms of blockchain or crypto casinos.
The biggest one, I think, is the rise of the wallet. That's what I think it is, and I think it'll be majorly impactful because it will affect the ecosystem at large, right? So on a player side, it's going to add a lot of trust, and it's going to add a lot of exclusive benefits to crypto that will not be present in the fiat only market. And with affiliates, it's going to ensure that operators don't shortchange them at the end of the month, and it's going to significantly lower cost of doing business, both for operators and for affiliates. So affiliates are naturally going to be driven toward crypto casinos once they realize that their payouts are going to come regardless of any sort of administration required, right? Because what is blockchain? Essentially, a blockchain is it's one way to explain from a financial perspective is it's a triple entry accounting system, right?
Mhm.
So at the moment, at the end of each month, the operator says I owe you X, and the affiliate says no, you owe me Y, and they spend hundreds of hours trying to figure this out, and then they battle back and forth. Then the relationship sours because this guy tried to screw me, and everything starts going sort of haywire. But if the affiliates can realize straight away, listen, I can just get paid through a tracking link that's run by a smart contract. I can pay a lot less for doing it because the fees are going to be lower, and I don't need to have a massive team to be able to make it happen. Then then I think the industry will change significantly. But to your point, Farouk, the way the crypto native market at the moment, in terms of from a player perspective, is completely different. You're right; they're totally segregated, right? But I think that as the payment industry, the traditional payment industry, becomes more closely aligned with crypto, which now post the election, it's Trump is just basically given safe harbor to the crypto industry, and that it's going to be supported by traditional finance. I think a lot of traditional gaming traffic will move to crypto. Bear in mind, I say this as with my own bias and my own lack of understanding on the traditional gambling side, right? Because it's important to be
So,
fair.
Jean-Michel, this is your prediction for 2025, let's say. We'll
N-
follow it.
not 2025. I think this will happen over a course of like 6 or 7 years because
Six,
the
7 years, yeah.
infrastructure still needs to be built up. The culling still needs to happen. The rug pull still needs to happen. And once the dust settles, what will be left is technology that people know that they can trust. And then it's just benefits.
The most important aspect here is the adoption of smart contracts in the industry. So as soon as people start talking about it as casual as they do right now with affiliate payouts or other let's say terms in our gaming, then we will see the increase or the rise of actual cryptocurrencies and crypto casinos in general in the market. I would say so. That's a great point here. It took you mentioned 2011, and now this is end of 2024, and now look where we are. Maybe it is going to take another decade, but yeah, I mean we are heading there, and I think this is like growing in an accumulated way. So it's like on the way up, kind of a direction, in my opinion.
It's the only way it can go, right?
Yeah,
Because even if we look at compliance, whether it's regulatory compliance or operational compliance, it's still a cost, and there's always more efficient ways to do things. It's just a matter of time, right? We're humans. We get smarter, we get better.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm happy you see the vision.
definitely. Yeah, I've been there for a while, so I also see like more and more people talking from different age groups, by the way. So this is really amazing that people would like to discover that. And my last question that I actually wanted to ask you is about you. What makes you really excited when you look at the industry right now, the blockchain, cryptocurrencies and iGaming all together? Can you tell us, your view?
If we're talking about the amalgamation of all of those industries, I would say the US market is probably the most interesting target at the moment. Why? Because the US has been, in terms of crypto, has been like a sleeping giant, right? And it's just woken up, and it's also just waking up for the gambling industry as well. It's just started, from what I understand, in the past year or so. I've started hearing about it, at least. So I think these are two very interesting parts which are going to converge, and I think anyone operating in that market's going to have a hell of a fucking time.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think the regulations will be easing up over there because governments, they see it, they see the value because people, they like iGaming and they are doing it anyway. So why not, that is regulated and people just, do it with the, let's say, governance of it in a regulated market. Another thing is, yes, cryptos are growing and it has great awareness right now. So I believe US is way behind Asia when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and I think this is going to also show a good direction after the elections, especially as you mentioned. Jean-Michel, we have a couple of questions that I got through social media for the last couple of days, and I wanted to ask you. The first one is, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are looking to invest in a crypto casino?
My advice would be, I'm going to assume that you fit the bill which I described earlier, which is you already understand the traditional gambling market and you're now looking to enter the crypto side of things. My advice would definitely be choose the right support, but and I guess, like with everything else, understand your unfair advantage, right? So if crypto isn't providing you with some kind of unfair advantage, it's only a hindrance. So if you haven't understood what core benefit crypto is bringing to your business and which USPs it provides as a result, I think the risk of just getting lost in the frizz is way too high.
Absolutely, and this is valid for the traditional casinos as well. Like, have the market knowledge first, do your research, and then understand how it works with the crypto casinos. And also, my observation is that community is a big thing in crypto casinos right now. So maybe, if you can have an arsenal to, start with your crypto casinos around it, that would be also a good move. I've got a second question. What measures are crypto casinos taking to protect player funds and personal information from cyber threats and hacks? So you touch base on this a little bit, but maybe for our audience, you can tell us more.
Sure. So as a best practice, there is a penetration test which is done by a reputable service provider. Typically, a company like Certic is a good way to go, right? That is what's being done by some of the providers, but in reality, there is no way to know exactly what security measures are being taken, and I'm not able to share the specifics of my customers. Why? Because if I say what they are, then I'm inherently exposing some kind of vulnerability because I'm exposing what kind of practice they go through. And for the same reason, crypto casinos will never say, listen, we do X, Y, Z. No, because even if they just say, listen, we're using Teams for like end-to-end encryption for internal calls, a hacker could know that, okay, this is a threat vector, so I can use Teams to get into the system, and depending on how decentralized their casino is, wreak some havoc. So in terms of specific examples, it's very, very difficult to say, and this is why the importance of regulation sort of like shine so brightly, right? Because regulation will say, listen, you have to do this, and this. How you do it's up to you.
That's true. That's true. And also, just a reminder for everyone watching us, definitely institutions, all the, let's say, crypto casinos, everybody, they need to take care of security measures, but also make sure you do your own security measures, especially with your wallet and everything else, because there are lots of stories I'm hearing, so don't be one of them.
Like that's
Uh,
that's that's a really good point. For example, Farooq. So like take what I was saying earlier about a user connecting with their wallet, right?
right.
Nowadays, what if you go onto a crypto casino website, you connect your ledger, it asks you to enter your private key on the site. You as a user don't know anything about blockchain, and everything is gone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This is why the regulatory side of things becomes interesting.
Absolutely, or those phishing emails and everything else like crazy. So yeah, let's be very careful on the individual end as well. Jean-Michel, this is pretty much it from my questions, and the questions came from the audience. Just a couple of things that I want to mention. Ambrose watching us, thanks Ambrose, and he mentioned about the gamification of KYC. So that's an important point, and also he mentioned about the bank IDs helping gaming operators complete the basics of KYC. That's another, good point from him. I'm really happy that our session helps people to get some insights today. Thank you for joining us, Jean-Michel. It's been a great conversation, and I wonder if you have anything to add at the end of our session today.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Farouk. This was great way to start the week. If there is if there are any startups out there who are looking to raise funds in this space, the BitAngels will be hosting a pitch competition at the end of this month. The date will be cemented soon, and if you're interested, just DM me and we'll sort something out. And if you're an investor and you want to come see the pitches and maybe drop some cash, do the same thing. Just DM. And thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remember also you mentioned about Vitalik some time ago. Yeah, pitching Ethereum to you guys, right?
He pitched Ethereum to the BitAngels in
Yeah,
2015, I think it was.
right.
And
Yeah. So
I just joined them very, very recently. But
yeah, so no need to mention anything further. And finally, I would like to mention that if you are running an iGaming brand, it could be traditional casinos or crypto casinos, and you want to have a targeted audience, heading to your website, you want to convert them and retain them as loyal players, get in touch with Revpanda. We can help you with all those digital marketing needs. And if you want to learn more about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, crypto casinos, fintech, cybersecurity, here we have Jean-Michel's email, and also you can find him on LinkedIn. He's super responsive, so you can reach out to him as well. And I'm flying to Sigma Europe in Malta. So if you're around, we can meet over there. I think Jean-Michel, you will be there too, right?
I'll be there too. We can have a beer for sure. And I'll actually be on a panel talking about crypto casinos. Funnily enough. So
Absolutely.
come
Which
say
day
hello.
is it?
It should be I need to check my calendar actually.
Sure.
Let's see. It's the Wednesday at, so 11:30 is crypto casinos, 10:30 is quantum computing.
Amazing. So you have actually two sessions at Sigma Europe, right?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So Wednesday, you're also invited everyone to Jean-Michel sessions at 10:30 and 11:30. It's going to be a day for you, Jean-Michel.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Absolutely. Amazing. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us. I'll see you in Malta at Sigma Europe and also at the next session of Rare Panda Live. Have a great day.